In this video, I'm going to be sharing some tips and practical advice on how to get a job as an architect. This is the list of topics that we're going to cover. We're going to go through everything slowly, step by step. Now, first of all, you may be thinking, well, who are you to tell us how to get a job as an architect? After all, I really didn't apply to that many jobs. I kind of became self-employed during university days, and I've been self-employed ever since. Well, I recently had a chance to hire both architects and non-architects, and also I had a chance to go through many different portfolios, CVs, cover letters, and so on. So I think I do have some experience kind of on the other side of the hiring process, so I wanted to share some practical tips and tricks from that point of view. The first suggestion would be to make a job search plan. Don't be one of those people that just apply to any job and every job that has architecture in the title, and then when you don't get any interviews, you complain that nobody is hiring or that the job market is broken. You really need to create a very kind of well-defined job search plan. So what does that mean? That means that you need to ask yourself, what is your ideal job? What does your ideal workday look like? And try to search for companies that actually offer this. You need to do this first so you know what your next steps will be. You need to project your career path forward and see what would be the logical and the best next step when it comes to your next job. Also, make sure to figure out how much money you need from this next job and what will be your minimum requirement when it comes to earnings. The next really important thing is to know where you're applying. Don't just apply to any job, research each company where you're applying to. So for example, when we were doing interviews for a few job positions, we had situations where people would come up and then they would be like, okay, so what are you doing? And they would have absolutely no idea what Balkan architect is, which is really weird because it's not like we don't have an online presence. It's just a simple Google search and you can find a lot about our company and what we do. So it's really weird to have a situation where somebody applies to a job and they have no idea where they're applying to, and it just shows lack of professionalism. So make sure you know exactly where you're applying. Do your research, search that company on Google, LinkedIn, everywhere where you can. If you find some people that work there, you can contact them and say, okay, so what is it like? Would you recommend that I apply for this job? And so on. Also, another thing that I would recommend is you can actually apply for jobs even if the company is not hiring. So just kind of introduce yourself, send an email to the HR department, or if they don't have an HR department, just to their main email. You can attach your CV, your portfolio, and say, if at any time you are looking for employees, I'm interested in working, or I'm interested in setting up a meeting and see if we can be a good fit. That's even better. Now let's talk about some CV tips. So within your CV, you don't want to list out everything that you've ever done in your life. You want to make sure that you update your CV for that next stage of your career. For example, if you're a beginner, so you've just finished university, you're looking for work, it might make sense to include things like, I worked as a waiter part-time during university. That shows that you have a lot of work ethic, that you're able to work part-time and finish school at the same time. Now, if you're applying for your 5th architecture job, just don't include that waiter part-time job just because it's not really relevant. If you have a long career and you've worked on a lot of things, just make sure to emphasize the things that kind of fit into the job that you're applying to, and the rest can be just a simple line, worked there from that time to that time, and then if your employers are interested in that, you can tell them more about it during the job interview, but don't have a CV that's like 6 pages. It might seem as something impressive, but on the other end, people just don't want to read through that. They just want to see what's most relevant. Also, something that they've learned with hiring non-architects. So I had this position for marketing, and something that they add, and a lot of marketing people add this, is their achievements. So I've worked in this company and I've managed to grow their sales, whatever. And I thought that that's really impressive. That's really nice to include on your CV, your achievements. So something that I would recommend is steal that from the marketing guys and use that as an architect. So say, okay, so in this company, they weren't working on the cloud. They just used, they would kind of share files around via email or something like that, and I optimized that in this small company, and that was my achievement. Or for this project, I figured out a best facade that's manufactured locally. It's really eco-friendly and also looks really nice. So try to kind of emphasize your successes and your achievements throughout different projects. It can be just a small section of achievements. I think that speaks volumes to what you're capable of. Now let's talk about portfolio tips. Now I've already recorded a video where I review portfolios, so you can see that up in the cards above. I recommend you check that out. So overall, something that I've noticed with a lot of portfolios, they tend to place a lot of images for a lot of projects, and it's just not necessary. So try to be minimalistic, try to represent only what's most important. So for a project, you don't want to have 10 renderings and 50 like floor plans and sections. Nobody needs to see that. It's enough to have just one rendering and then one floor plan, for example, and try to emphasize what exactly you did on that project. So if you were doing a lot of detailing, don't emphasize the renderings. It wasn't something done by you. So try to emphasize what you did. So for example, you can just have, okay, so it's this project, that's the location, and I've done details, and you only place details. Or you only place renderings if you did only renderings. So try to emphasize what exactly you did on that project, because it's really frustrating for an employer when I was going through people's portfolios. Like, it's obvious that this person didn't do this entire project. They had help, and it was a team of like 5 people. So what did you do here? I don't know. Did you just like do the dimensions, or did you do the whole idea and then somebody else did the dimensions? I really need to know what your role was. And of course, you want to filter everything down to what's most relevant for the specific job. So if you did some, I don't know, detailing work and you're applying for a job where you're going to do roof designs, well, just show your previous roof designs. Don't show like a shed that you've designed for your neighbor. So that wouldn't really make sense, and it would just kind of clog up your portfolio. Next thing, and this is really important, that's the cover letter. It's also somewhere known as the motivational letter. So it's the letter that you send to the company along with your portfolio and CV for the job application. This is really important, and I never knew why somebody would use this when I was applying to jobs, and now I can see it's really important. But you want to make sure that you have a personalized cover letter. That means that it's personalized to that company. You want to make it custom to that company. Don't have like and I see people, like almost everybody has just a cover letter, and in some cases they would just change the name, so dear whatever, and then they would send it. Or they wouldn't do that, so they would say, dear employer, and they would send this to everybody. And usually something that they see here is in these letters, they say something like, oh, I'm a dedicated and motivated worker, on a non-personalized cover letter. So you've just proved yourself wrong. You're neither motivated or dedicated, and you're a liar. So don't do that. Research the company, and then in the cover letter, show them and explain why do you think you'd be a good fit for that particular role. Now let's talk about the whole interview process. So the first thing that I would like to share here is try to get an interview as soon as possible. For example, for our marketing position, the guy who got the job, when we said, okay, so we're doing interviews this whole week from Monday to Friday from 9 a.m. till 5 p.m. He was the guy that was like 9 a.m. Monday, I'm there. And then when we had a second round of interviews, again, we gave them like a few days, and he was like, okay, first slot, that's me. So that showed a lot of initiative. Of course, if you can't really fit it in your schedule, that's okay, do it later. But try not to be the person that's like, can we do Friday at 4:30? Like, you don't want to be that guy. So make sure that you show initiative even here through picking out just a time and day for the interview. You also want to show that you're interested by asking questions. So you can ask questions about what does the kind of entire workday look like for this position, what the onboarding process is. You want to show your interest through asking questions. Now, you don't want to show that you haven't done your research, so you show that you do your research, you understand what the company does, what are some of the projects that they did, and so on, but things that you couldn't research, you ask that, like, as I said, what the workday looks like, what's the onboarding process, and so on. Next, you don't want to have "I'm just here for the money" attitude. We're all here for the money, that's obvious, but we're looking for who's the best fit for this job, not who wants money. Your attitude should show that you're here just to see if this company is a good fit for you. You're not desperate for work, you're not here and you're available to do whatever, whenever. No, you want to see what this company is like, you're here to present yourself, and you're here to learn more about the company, and then we can see if there's possibility to work for this company. You also want to share ideas if it's that type of a position. So for example, for the marketing position that we had, a lot of candidates came in with ideas and they're like, you should change your website, you should change this, you can do Google ads, you can do whatever. So that's something that you can do as well in architecture. So you can say, okay, you're looking for a position of a BIM manager. Yeah, I would recommend switching to A360. I recommend using Navisworks as well in your whole design process. Do you have a Dynamo person? We should have a Dynamo person, and so on and so forth. Also, you should be communicative. You should not give quick and short answers, but also don't go into long stories. Try to stay kind of on point what you're asked, give an answer, don't make it too short, don't make it too long. Now, when it comes to salary, be honest with your expectations, your motivations, and your whole approach. I see in a lot of cases it turns into a Western standoff, and it's like, who's going to say the number first? No, it's going to be you, it's going to be the employer. Who is it going to be? So don't do this. I think it's stupid. I think it doesn't help anybody. So when it comes to your salary expectations, what you want to do is you want to ask the company, is there a range for this or a salary range for this position? If they say no, or if they say, well, how much do you want to ask? Don't be the person that's like, no, I'm not going to tell you, you tell me first. No, you can say, okay, so this is my minimum, this is what I've worked for in the past, I'm talking with multiple companies, obviously the amount of money or the salary is going to be an important factor. I'm probably going to pick the company that pays me the most as long as it's a good fit. So that's just my general approach, and then you can offer me whatever you think would work for you. So try to be honest, try to be open. I don't think it's necessary to have this hostility when it comes to the salary. I see that a lot. I see a lot of people are getting into it very hostile. It's not necessary. We're just trying to find a good fit. If it works for you, it works for you. If it doesn't, it doesn't. It's okay either way. Also, don't talk bad about your old employers. I see this happening a lot. I mean, it doesn't really bother me personally, but I know a lot of HR departments, a lot of employers don't like it when you can badmouth the old employer because they feel like, oh, is that person going to be badmouthing me in the future? So personally, in my case, didn't really bother me. I had it a lot, but not that people were bad-mouthing me. I don't know about that, but that people would come to an interview and then they would be like, oh, the old job, it was horrible, the company sucks, it's terrible. So it's something that happens, and I think it should be avoided. And finally, once the whole interview is over, try to follow up if it makes sense. So for example, in a lot of cases, people would say something or mention something that's perhaps outside of their portfolio or CV, and then I would be interested in that, and then they would later, some of them would follow up with an email. It would be something like, okay, it was nice talking to you, I'm really interested about the position, we've mentioned this project that isn't available in my portfolio, so you can find it attached to this email or something like that. So it makes sense to follow up as long as it's relevant to the interview that you had. So anyways, those are my tips kind of from the position of the employer. I hope you have enjoyed this video. Please tell me what you think about this whole topic and what you think about these tips in the comment section below.